Do you feel that you sometimes make the mistake way too early? Do you feel that you sometimes serve without a plan? You get a ball and you're just surprised? I think 90% of amateur or upcoming players do the same mistake. When they go into a rally or when they serve or receive, their unforced error rate is way too high. I want to show you why you do that kind of mistakes, and I want to give you a solution that all the top players use every point guaranteed. Let me give you and hand you the pro's holy grail of information that you can implement in your games right away. Yes, boy, let's grind. We are now gonna simulate common match situation where you maybe find yourself. Let's see what happens here. Let's see how I adapt to this situation. And right after, I'm gonna explain you how I adapted, how I changed everything, so you can implement it in your game immediately after watching it. Guys, it's important to have a little bit fun, but now let's get to the bread and talk about the serious stuff. A very common situation, the first set we face an unknown opponent or an opponent that we just played once or maybe twice in our club or in our league. The most common mistakes or the most difficult thing at first when facing a new opponent is the service receive. I'm sure that you found yourself in some situations where you had difficulties receiving the serve, which caused a lot of first ball errors. As you could see, I did a lot of easy mistakes, but somehow in the second set, I managed to create a return stability with a good receive. And now I'm gonna open you a big tip that you can implement right away, so you will be able to create the receive stability. Table tennis, especially matches, are a memorizing game. It's a memory game where you need to memorize the patterns of your opponent. Most of the opponents in amateur, semi-pro or even pro level have a maximum variation of maximum, I'm talking maximum, 4 to 5 services. Of course, they can always change the variations, but will never be more than these 5. The first set of the match is to memorize his services. It's to really make a photo in your mind of what he did and what he served. So you can improve in the second set, in the third set, and the longer the match gets, the better you receive, which means the more stability you gain and the more difficulties you cause your opponent. Especially in the receive, I don't need to win the point, okay? You can, but you don't need to. The first rule of receive is stability. Not to make an error, but make a solid receive. So how do I do that? In table tennis or generally in sports, we practice our physical abilities. You also need to practice your cognitive abilities and skills. And the first one is to memorize opponent's service. What I'm talking about now is simple neuroscience. If you memorize your opponent's service variations, your brain will automatically create a response to these movement patterns. Your brain is finding a solution, whether it's the angle of receive, whether it's the timing of receive, whether it's the placement of receive. But you're analyzing and you're reading your opponent, which will result in more receive stability. Let me give you a little ritual or a little tool that you should use in training and in match that will change maybe 4 to 5 points each set. mental tool that I want to give you is that, as you saw, my opponent served an upspin hook service in my forehand. So I received it in the out. It was more spin than I expected. What I like to do is, between the points, when I either take the ball or I just consciously go around, this is where I memorize my mistake, and then the nearer I get to the table, I visualize how I want to receive the same service. So in this case, okay, it was a lot of upspin, I played it in the out. I misread the amount of spin. So when I walked, I imagine this situation, but at the same time, when I get back to the table, I imagine how I close my racket at the end of the movement, so I can do a good, stable flip. Of course, the situation can change. Like, for example, your opponent serves a surprising long serve in your backhand. Oh, you're surprised. Okay, let's go one round. Let's think about it when you pick up the ball. You know, a lot of hobby players, amateur players, semi-pros, even pros sometimes, they get emotional. Why do I do this mistake? When you get emotional, there's no room for analyzing. There's no room for positive adjustments. But when you manage to memorize and visualize, optimize the receive for this certain service, that's 1 point per set. Imagine when you do this one more time, that's maybe 2 points per set. And if this becomes a habit, maybe it's 4 points per set. That's a big difference. So always try to memorize the repertoire of your opponent's services, which is mostly limited, and the solution, how you want to receive it. This is how you should use the time between the points when you grab the ball, when you get to the towel, all 6 points. I think that's a really important tip. Try to implement this as fast as possible to grow into your next level table tennis self. Now, let's get to another very common match situation where you maybe find yourself sometimes too. Let's see. Again, I'm gonna show you the errors and the solution afterwards. So maybe some of you think the first mistakes were due to technical issues. Well, that might be true, but not really. The main mistake of the first 4 errors were that I didn't plan what's going to happen after my service. If we think a little bit deeper, what exactly is our service meant for? Okay, before with the old table tennis ball, you could do a lot of direct service point because the ball was spinny. You could really make so much spin that your opponent just couldn't receive well or mistake directly. Nowadays, the ball is different. It's heavier, it's softer, it's way much less spin. So, in my opinion, the service is a tool to limit your opponent's receive options. That means I want to create a plan when I'm serving. Even me, I used to do so much different cool serves with so much spin. But you know, guys, it wasn't effective at all because I hadn't got a plan, a really good plan after the services. So sometimes I would recommend to use simpler serves so you can create an easier plan afterwards. What does that exactly mean? You might see a lot of pros taking a lot of time before the service. Like this or like this. Why do we do this? We do it because in these moments we create a plan after our services. If our service is a tool to limit the receive possibilities of our opponent, then we need to have a plan, right? The first example, if I do a long, fast service into my opponent's backhand, what is most likely to happen? If you analyze all your long services, if you memorize the receive placements of your opponents, the ball is very likely, or most likely, I would say 70%, is going to be returned in this area. That means when you dodge the ball like this, and you're creating the plan in your mind, you must be ready that after your long service, you put your hand up, because the ball is not going to be short, right? Long service, you will get a long ball in return, so your hand shouldn't be here or here. Your hand is here, and you cover up this area of the table. If you don't make a plan, if you just let's do a long service, woo! And then the ball comes here and the ball was here. Well, you're most likely to do a mistake. You will unforced error because you didn't make a plan. This is what happened in the first points. At the same time, if you are a clever player, you will memorize the patterns, the receive directions of your opponent, and the longer the match gets, the better you become. 0-0, first service long. You might make a mistake, but you memorize, my opponent tends to receive the long services here. Click, memorized, and maybe in 9-9, you serve a long service with a plan, wait here, and boom, attack it down the line. Your opponent will be like, damn, how did he do that? I received so well. Yes, because you memorized his pattern, okay? We're becoming clever players now, guys. Listen closely. What else happened? I did a short downspin service in my opponent's forehand, like that, yeah? And my hand was here. I was not prepared that most likely I will get a short ball back, or not most likely, it depends on the level, but that it's a possibility. So we need to be conscious about it. If we serve short downspin in our opponent's forehand, the possibility is high that we get a short ball. So we can't be surprised when this happened. We need to be prepared for this. So for example, short service, I should keep my hand here above the table, so I'm ready for a topspin and a short ball. If we serve the same service again for the next time, maybe we keep this pattern in our mind, we can serve it at 10-10. And again, short service, our opponent likes to play short, so we are ready for it and attack. And again, we won the point with our mind, with our tactical intelligence. Another very good example that happens a lot, I see this a lot nowadays. Short side spin service in our opponent's backhand, we get a banana flick and we are surprised. This cannot happen because the mistake is made due to lack of planning. Again, how it should be. Dodge the ball. In this moment we create a plan. Okay, we're going to serve side spin short in our opponent's backhand. The chances that we get a backhand banana in this area are very, very high, very high. So we need to prepare for it. Okay, if this happens, I'm going to spin in his forehand. This will be a good ball, a difficult ball for our opponent. We create the plan. Zack, ready for it, bam. Okay, we always need to memorize our opponent's patterns to use them against him later on, the longer the match takes. And we also want to discover our game, you know? We need to know, if I serve this, most likely this will happen. We need to memorize what happens after. It's a guessing game or it's a memorizing tactical game. It's your choice. But if we master the skill of memorizing the service repertoire of our opponent, we are going to add stability in our receive, and we're gonna add stability in our own service third ball game. So what happens? We are an extreme difficult opponent to face. If you combine the technical skills with the deep tactical game skills, like we learned now, you can become a pro or the best possible player that you can become. For all technical tutorials, we all have videos on our channel. You can all watch them through. But don't get me wrong, this applies to all levels. Just if you do a long service, it doesn't mean you need to backhand bomber it. No, that makes no sense. If you, for example, can only backhand block, it's no problem. You need to plan with your own repertoire. For example, you don't like backhand topspin, no problem. Serve long, wait here and block into the deep corner, you know? Maybe you love to push long, no problem. Just make a plan, okay? Plan the point. This will give you a massive improvement in your game, I can promise you that. Trust me, when you start to go into practice with this kind of consciousness, your understanding of the game goes to another level. But it's a big game changer because then you start to analyze, okay, if I do this, I get that in return. What happens? A system grows, you know, a tree grows, your own personal style develops. Like this, you will also find what you love to play and what you don't like to play, which is very important. As I said, this is not a technical tutorial video. We have technical tutorials for basically every shot. Check them out. But this one is really a skill that is not outside but on the inside. Build your game IQ, build your tactical skills. If you have any questions, you know guys, I'm very busy with tournaments and league and everything. I try to answer all the comments as good as I can. Thank you guys and see you in the next video.